Welcome back to Knack II, actually. So yeah, we're almost at the point where we officially hit full circle in the plot.
So I think I already asked this question, but just to be sure again, do we have to repeat the entire beginning sequence again?
No. Fortunately,
Oh my
not.
God.
Skip over. I already mentioned that in the first part.
No, I don't remember. Sorry, it's been a while.
Sure.
Basically, folks, the context
If
when
I
we
remember
record
correctly, we
these,
do
these
skip
tend-
it, yes.
Basically, folks, the context in this commentating gig, we tend to record a lot of these commentaries over a duration of time, so...
Well, even if you just for the basic simple of not getting burned out by just one thing, and definitely I think like this needs to be taken in small bites.
Though I do wonder if it would be more efficient if sometimes we focus on just one thing and do it afterwards, but then you possibly run into the burnout thing.
Depends on the game. If it's something like a level 5 game, which are incredibly fun and easy to record in that regard, it's fine. But when it's a game like this that's boring as shit, it's way harder.
Minions. Get him now.
Oh,
Get him,
that's
Knack,
nice.
and wait, oh my god, they were mopping the floor with Knack.
They are.
And he's dead. Great job, Knack.
Let's try this again.
You know what's weird? The opening level, you wouldn't have been able to tell that Knack was powered up in the opening level because...
That's because he wasn't.
So that kind of opens up a plot hole then. If Knack had all those abilities that Ava gave him, why didn't he use them in the beginning?
It's funny because God of War Ascension has kind of like of a similar thing.
It's a
in a
thing as
sense
old
that,
as Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now granted that
no,
was...
not completely, Joe. It's actually more similar to this game. The game starts. The game starts in a particular dungeon with Kratos that has been imprisoned, and part of the game is reliving this flashback to see how he got here. However, these flashbacks are set in between part of being in the initial dungeon, and Kratos is kind of remembering as he goes along the abilities that he had. But why? Because it was both weakened, both on a strength kind of state and of a mind kind of state. So slowly he's recovering both the memories, basically he's recollecting his thoughts, and at the same time he's regaining the power that he has lost, and in some cases regaining physically some of the trinkets that he had been stolen from you. So I would say that in that game, this kind of thing is done much more better. Here, they didn't even try.
Oh my god,
Well,
they actually put in an NPC detail about Lucas having to bend over because he's tired. It feels
Brilliant.
like the first time they've even done that.
Well, Teo, you said that the Mark's co-writer for this is actually one of the God of War writers.
Yeah.
Was that writer the one who wrote Ascension?
Yes. Again,
Oh,
like I
that
told,
explains it then.
like I told, the God of War games have never been about way too deep Shakespeare and everything, and they're certainly not your conventional kind of stories where you're supposed to root for Kratos as a protagonist.
It's more like an
But it's the thing.
hero type of thing.
Yes, but I will say they are still really solid with minimal plot holes.
And
here
Kratos
there.
was kind of in the right when you see how evil the gods are. And
It is. The main problem, not problem, Joe, but the main point of contention would be the fact that starting with 2, it becomes more ruthless and sometimes kind of a dick. But if your suspension is, I guess it's a question of suspension disbelief. But
it's like I
consider
said,
personally, consider the circumstances, I'm more inclined to be okay with that state of mind of him because of the things that happen around him. Again,
Not just
context
that,
context is everything, so you will better be judging for yourself when we'll actually get.
it's like I said, by
Well,
God of
from
War
what I
3,
can
they pretty
tell.
much make the gods pretty much evil to justify
Yes,
Kratos'
but there
actions.
is also reason for it. They're not just dickish, even though they could have easily do that.
So God of War has more plot
I will
depth in
say,
this
I will
game.
say also this though. One guy posted a video on YouTube specifically made for that. I'm against those people, those game journalists that for some reason when the new God of War came out, instead of saying that it's a natural evolution of a series as it is, because it upscales everything, including stuff from the plots, they just say that the previous games were basically bad, and this one is the first one where you should start to feel good about
Yeah,
it.
I'll never get
That
revisionist
kind of takes
history like
that's
that.
the problem. Also, what's his name? Cory Balrog himself which has been cooperating on the game ever since 1 as well, kind of went away with this. Why? Basically to score brownie points, no more nor less. Not to mention, the original Pedro franchise, David Jaffe, was not credited and was not really pleased with the situation. He likes the new God of War game, he doesn't like the situation surrounding it. Personally, I'm just glad that the game on its own so good, and the fans seem to have more common sense than game journalists, so please, let's just move on to the next title eventually. Rant over.
Yeah. Now let's go back to this
Well, at
game.
least, well, that's at least better progress. Like,
I think my main
hey,
issue with the
well,
debacle is like, well, it feels like unneeded controversy. Like, you know, yeah, the game journalist started it, but the fact that the game devs kind of fed into that for brownie points really did not help stuff.
I mean,
Well, game journalists kind of make or break a lot of things, so what else do you have to do other than to kiss their asses?
Yes, Shiri, but it is demonstrated by Battlefield 5. It's now demonstrated that Tumblr crowd, that devs, that not just these devs, but devs in general tries to desperately gain support, don't buy their games.
Yeah.
So
Being
basically,
showcased by EA of all people having their
it's
stocks
only
drop.
for marketing purposes at the end of the day. And I understand that, but
They
at the
don't
end of
buy
the
them
day,
'cause they keep
it's your
fucking
audience,
it up.
it's the actual audience who determines if the games are good for them or not, and if they're worth a purchase or not.
Which is actually
Even
thing.
that isn't 100%
that's
really.
the way it should be. What I don't, that's fine. I was actually afraid at first when I first heard of that it's going to go worse. Fortunately, it didn't go. Because I really don't like it when someone decides to hate on a game just because of the circumstances around it, not because of the actual quality of the game itself.
And
Because
you know what?
it's one of those. Don't get me wrong. You can be mad at the situation around the game, of course. However, I don't like it when because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in it who, instead of knowing how to separate the two things, instead decide to just hate on the game itself just because of that, and that's something that I'm totally against.
But the outside circumstances affect the product. It's surrounding circumstances to the product itself. So
Well,
at the end of the day,
very
Shiro,
specific situations, you cannot separate the two.
Yes, Shiri, that's the
You
core problem.
should not separate the two.
That's the core problem at the end of the day. That's the core problem with the gaming industry and the game audience nowadays. What's been asked to the game audience is common sense and analysis for when cases like this happen. The problem is that a lot of time it doesn't happen. Simply.
Yes.
That's the thing, though. Nowadays,
That's
game...
why nothing ever goes anywhere.
Well,
That's why you get all these people rambling one side or the other, thinking that everything is political, everything has an agenda or shits like
Well,
that.
that's a thing,
no,
Shiro, yeah?
Yes, Jova.
If I may interject, though, lately the gamering audience has actually improved in that. It's like, well, okay, back in the day, it was like nothing would ever stop EA from doing a lot of their dirty tactics because the gamer audience either could not mobilize properly or didn't put their money where their mouth was. Until
Not
now,
only that, the video... Sorry.
Until now, though, because that's the thing. EA finally aren't getting scot-free off of this. I mean, you know, there's the whole they're practically under arrest thing, but the gaming audience is actually standing up. And not just to them. The gaming audience are standing up to the likes of Activision. Like, Spyro fans weren't going to let Activision get away with making Spyro more so download than actually to play and buy. And it goes so with a lot of companies and whatnot. Like, oh, need I even speak more on Konami? Like, okay, even if Metal Gear Survive by some miracle was gonna be good, it was pretty apparent not many people were on board with that because of how Konami treat their employees, especially Hideo Kojima. So I will give the gaming audience credit this. They are definitely getting better at actually knowing how to mobilize on this stuff as opposed to just going to YouTube on this stuff. And that's no whack against YouTubers. They're some of the most productive people on these sort of things. It's just, I'm glad that we're out of the age of people just going to YouTube and thinking that supporting people who speak out against it is all they need to do. No, we actually need to not buy games of certain value here or there, regardless of how much it may hurt or whatnot.
Well, yeah, that's what. I mean, I have specific policy, for example, where I never buy anything from Microsoft unless it's used.
Which sadly makes the whole God of War thing pointless because the God of War devs should have realized how times are changing. Like, here's the thing.
Not only that, Jova, again, the game on its own is still really great and still sold a lot anyway. They didn't need this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Anyway.
Cutscene.
Oh. Right.
So we're reprising where we left off.
Yes.
So I guess now
I
we're
will
just...
say this about this game, though, but for this section, the game, this level actually conveys more the fact that the city is attacked, rather than the last game.
True.
At least there is that.
And don't you see, guys, we didn't know originally that it was humans attacking. Now we
Well,
know.
here's the thing, Lucas. Xander becoming a villain came out of nowhere, so I don't blame you at all, honestly.
Oh, it didn't look exactly the same.
Well, no. Well, yeah. Here's the thing, Tail.
At first, Xander was a dick, but he never seemed like an insane
Before-
villain.
Oh god!
Ah!
What have I done?
What have you done?
That's the thing, Tail. Regardless of
Oh, wow.
how his character is designed, I'm still willing to not judge someone on appearances at the very least.
No.
Um,
No, I think Tio's talking about how the graphics render.
Yeah.
No. I'm not talking about Lucas's face. I'm talking about Xander's betrayal.
Oh, that?
okay.
Oh, well, yeah, that kind of goes without
yes,
saying.
done.
Yes, Tail was able to guess that he was the villain just from looking at his character design. Me personally, I like to at the very least have a bit more faith in developers than that, I guess. So.
Okay.
Considering how cliche this game is, I don't really have the faith in them, but I do
know,
agree,
but-
and I agree in other instances.
And I also will agree.
Yeah, it's
okay,
just
and I also will agree with this. Okay, we as the audience have to remember that yes, we have the bout of having TV tropes and being savvy and all that, but the characters aren't people who just judge based on appearance. And you know what? It's probably a good lesson to show that they aren't judging based off of appearances, no matter how evil or unsubtle they may look. Now, sure, granted.
A great example is
I
in,
would agree, Jova, if it was the first title, but they had the case of Victor in the first game.
Oh, absolutely.
a
I'm,
great
I'm talking
example
more
is,
so about games in general.
Yes, Jova. Sorry, Pedro.
a great example is in Miracle Mask, where they intentionally play with those expectations that people usually have against them, in the sense that they make Henry look like a bad guy, and they do everything. And of course, it's entirely on purpose to make you think that you know what's going on.
Heck, even older than that. Ace Attorney, yes. Ace Attorney has a lot of unsubtle villains, but there are a lot of those cases where the suspicious person is not the
case
culprit.
Case 2.4 is a good example of that, Jova.
Yeah, not only Case 4, but even older than that. Like, well, you know, you had suspicious figures in, well, all three of the games. It's like this, I'll say this. I am not one who will rage at characters for not going, hey, that suspicious person could be evil or whatnot, because I'll be quite honest, I don't expect the characters to always say, oh, this person looks evil and suspicious, clearly we should suspect them. Now, granted, if that person does a lot of evil laughs or whatnot, then I'll catch on to that. But just because they look stereotypically evil, even then, I'm okay with them not judging based off of that, because morally, it's best not to judge based off of appearances. But judge based more off of behavior and action. Knack? Yeah, Knack has this issue where, yeah, Lucas is blaming himself for trusting Xander, yet this is one of the few cases where it's actually okay.
Shit.
Did that bigger robot just squash its comrade?
No, I just went ahead of him.
Who's a weird
One shall stand, one shall fall. We're at 13, 26, 27, 38.
Oh, right! Hey, yeah, this is what happened during gameplay. So I guess they're
Yeah, I
just gonna show us
remember that
this-
happening in the first. So again, we're bridging things.
Yeah, we're bridging things.
Go ahead.
To finish what I was saying, well, that's the thing, Shiro. I mean, I can't speak for others, of course. I'm only speaking for myself when I say
Sure.
this, obviously. Me, I try to always make a conscious effort to just judge a game, like judge the game on its own, and just maybe I'm just better at that than most people. But I'm so far my attempts at always separating things and trying to judge a game just purely on its own quality and merits, and so far I've been 100% successful. Maybe I'm just better than most people at separating things, but fortunately I'm happy to say that I have so far in my gaming career been able to 100% succeed.
I mean,
And I pride myself on that personally.
I mean, the thing is, like, well, most of the gaming audience themselves separate stuff. I mean, that's part of the reason why EA didn't get Black, was because a lot of people were indifferent to it, because the games fulfilled their standards or whatnot.
Unfortunately, with that comes, because, like, okay, you separate it, and, you know, that's fine enough. But then, since, you know, video game developers have massive egos, they then think that the shit they're doing behind the scenes is okay.
Oh, that. Well, here's the thing, Shiwei. Like I myself said, I still go out of my way to not support publishers that I'm not.
Oh
okay
yeah,
with.
sure. I mean, like if you still want to like separate, a good game from a shitty creator, then by all means buy it used. I'm not saying don't buy the thing. I'm saying just don't support it officially.
Yeah, I remember we did this at the beginning, so we are actually retreading part of
Well,
it.
look at it this way, Shiroy. Technically, I did not support Sony when I bought this because I never gave them any of my money because Sony, thanks to their...
You still got it
But
officially,
you technically bought it
I did.
firsthand, so wait, but Pedro, don't you see? They're gonna count this as part of the downloads because that's something companies are doing nowadays, counting downloads.
Here's the
But
thing,
they don't
Jova.
put
I don't
money
count
in
Knack.
creators'
I don't
downloads.
count. Here's the thing, Jova. I don't count Knack in that particular category personally, because like I said, regardless of how bad these games are, Mark is still, at least from what we can tell, and
A decent
so far,
human being.
a perfectly nice human being who's genuinely, at the very least, trying to make good stuff.
Oh, yeah, I
so
agree.
don't
In
have,
fact-
so I have no problem with supporting him personally.
But these-
honestly,
honestly-
don't get me wrong. These games are bad. However, that doesn't necessarily make Mark a bad person that should not be supported.
I agree. In fact,
So-
if anything, I do also kind of blame Sony, the people who own this IP for not doing things. exclusive
I don't know, Jova. I'm gonna have to blame it.
Oh, no, hold on.
There's
Hold
no
on,
reason why this
hold
game
on,
should be any bad.
Hold on, Pedro.
aside from developer
Hold
incompetence.
on, Pedro. I did not say I was not going to give any blame to Mark
Japan
and
Studio.
Japan Studio. No. I'm just saying I also blame Sony because of how crappily they treated this IP. Like, oh, don't get me wrong. They gave Knack a chance, but how much of a chance, though, when it was clearly rushed, though? They should have had the foresight to, let this IP have the love and care that, the likes of Crash Bandicoot, Uncharted, or Jack and Daxter 1 had. I mean,
I don't know. Honestly, I can see what you mean from Knack 1. This game doesn't feel rushed to me. It just feels incompetent.
well, that's what I mean. It's like, well, the IP as a whole seems to have this weird psychosis where it ends up being rushed, even though they say they clearly have time for it. Because from what I can
this game
recall,
had 3
yeah,
years of development, which
Yeah.
is more than necessary for a game like this.
how much you want to bet they ran into dev issue stuff. The point being is like, well, I don't know. Something about this game feels needlessly cheap. Like, I mean, it doesn't feel like Sony had as much influence as they could have, because let's be quite honest, the first Knack didn't even sell that amazingly despite being a launch title. It really just begged the question, if they wanted a sequel, why not pump more money into it, especially since they were touting Knack as their new mascot?
Well, Jove, once again, it goes back to my theory that I've kept saying over time. They themselves don't care much for Knack, but they still allow Mark to make them because, again, that's his reward for the great work he's done for them.
I'll admit, I'm kind of iffy with Sony. Again, they're a great developer, but they're, like you yourself
I'm
said,
more
they're falling...
confused than that, Jova.
That's
It's like
it's a
Pedro
common thing in
said. They're,
publish-
it's like Pedro said.
the
Sony,
publisher cycle.
yes,
Yes yes and no, because they don't seem to be doing completely bad decision. It seems their behavior seems to be more schizophrenic than having an actual pattern.
Okay. It's like Pedro said. They seem to be falling into the cocky bout. Like, sure, they're not screwing up yet, and who knows? Maybe they won't screw up like we fear they may. But they are starting to show a lot of signs they had when nearing the PS3 era.
Yeah, it's like what it's kind of similar to the Nintendo themselves already with the success of the Switch are already starting to show cracks because of the way the online service works.
Yeah, they're lucky that they've had some recent stuff
think,
this week to boost their
for
stocks
example-
despite that.
For example, now that we have to pay for online, you'd think all of the first-party Nintendo games would have dedicated servers like Sony and Microsoft's have, right?
There have been
No.
some rumors.
Instead,
go on.
so far, according to Reggie, and you can see Arlo's video on this if you haven't seen it. According to Reggie, so far only Mario Kart and Smash are gonna have dedicated servers. The rest is gonna be peer-to-peer.
Not
So
for
what you're telling me?
Splatoon, of all things.
Yes, Splatoon 2 is peer-to-peer. You'd think Splatoon 2, which is one of their big online games, would have dedicated servers, but no.
Keep in mind, Splatoon 2 is actually has sections for esports.
And don't even get
It's
me
not like
started.
the
And I would also like to comment on that because frequent connection losses are a thing.
That's because of the
For
peer-to-peer
context,
Shiroi.
Shiroi got the Switch recently, so she's testing this on her own skin.
It's one of those things.
Oh no,
See,
no, I love Splatoon, and this is one aspect of playing it that I did not miss in the year that I've been sitting out.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. It is true. In order to play online on my PS4, I have to pay $50 per year. But you know what? From my experience playing games like Dragon Ball Fighters and other online games, it works just peachy because they actually have the dedicated servers for that kind of stuff.
Although to be fair, even
Nintendo's
Sony
going
and Microsoft occasionally have the games that are only peer-to-peer, as Arlo pointed out in his video.
They do, yeah.
So
they
they're not
do,
innocent
yeah,
either. But I'll just say this right now: it don't matter who's doing it; it's still stupid.
Yeah.
I would say that Sony and Microsoft at least they seem to have priority over what should get dedicated servers and what not.
See, this is the
This
main
is
reason
something I
why.
don't
Like
get.
I said, that Bloodborne's online is just fine, for example.
This is the main
If
reason
they
why I
don't-
was never okay with the idea of Nintendo doing paid online, because as Sony and Microsoft have shown, just because you're paying for it doesn't mean it's always going to get better. Because, okay, Sony had free online with the PS3, so was the online for the PS4 better? No, it wasn't. It was this or that. Same with Microsoft, although Microsoft already went in with that
Yeah.
plan.
I don't know. The Uncharted 4 multiplayer runs smooth.
Yeah.
What about
Here's the thing,
the
though.
Last of Us one? Is it fine?
From what I've tried, well, it's the thing too. I mostly played the multiplayer of Last of Us on the PS3. When I got my PS4 version, I was already kind of done with the multiplayer.
That's-
so
Okay.
I haven't tested it much.
it's like
but
I said.
from what I've heard, it's fine.
It's like I said, from what I've heard and from what I've actually played, sure, yes, some games do good with the online, but that's the thing. There's nothing to suggest that paying for the online helped improve it, because it's just as random a thing.
Yeah. The
as
problem
it
is that a lot of
now.
companies are still hesitant of giving every game dedicated server. That's the problem.
And granted,
But that's the thing. If they don't have dedicated servers, then should we really be paying?
Exactly.
exactly my
It's-
point.
If they had dedicated servers, then sure, because those cost money to maintain. But if you're not using them, then what are we paying for?
And the thing that really hurts the
Shiro,
most...
that you know, you're paying for cloud saves.
Oh, God, that...
Fuck that.
Also,
Sorry.
You know what's interesting?
we really are repeating the beginning of the game.
Oh, right,
Sorry,
okay,
Teo.
back to this game, I guess.
No,
You know,
that's the thing, Jova.
We just finished.
It's basically fine because nothing new has happened. We are just retreading the beginning of the game, just with Knack's new power.
Holy
I
cow,
guess.
and that's been the majority of this part so far.
Again, God
For
of
me,
War
the most
Ascension does
mind-boggling
this one.
thing.
Go ahead, Pedro. Might as
For
well.
me, the most mind-boggling thing about the cloud saves of the Switch is, keep in
That
mind,
they
it's the only-
exist?
not just
Well,
no,
cloud
no,
saves
no,
themselves
no,
are
cloud
good. The
saves are
problem
fine.
is like, well...
No, no, no,
problem
no.
is that-
I mean the whole deadline thing, the login thing.
Oh yeah, that's one thing
Login
Nintendo
thing.
actually clear up.
They backtracked a bit on the cloud saves and basically said that they're gonna expire 6 months after if you don't subscribe anymore.
No, what the issue, Pedro, was that before, as of this recording, if you didn't log in like once a week, then it wouldn't keep your cloud saves at all.
Sounds familiar, Pedro. That's because it's very similar to what the Xbox One originally was supposed
Yes, but here's the thing. You know what's the interesting thing? Okay, the PlayStation Plus also has cloud saving. You know what's the difference though? Okay,
Doesn't.
first of all, the PS4 is right now the the only current gen console that allows you to back up your save files into a flash drive
Doesn't
or
the
an
Xbox
external
One allow
USB.
you to do that too?
No, I tried. It doesn't. You can't back up saves on the Xbox One. Period.
Even though that's made from the company who originated with stuff like flash drives and all that.
Don't even get me started.
to. We're even
The
repeating
irony.
the same QTs.
But you know what's interesting, Jova? I can't speak for the Switch cloud saves because I haven't tried it myself yet. But here's the thing: you know how the cloud saves in the PlayStation Plus work? You have for the PS3 you have 1 gigabyte of cloud saves to upload. For the PS4 you have 10 gigs. Okay, that's more than enough to back up pretty much everything you could ever back up, so that's fine. Here's what's the interesting thing about the PS Plus cloud saving? Even if you do and let your Plus, and I've tried this myself, even if you do let your Plus subscription expire, the saves will still be there on the server. You just can't access it because you don't have Plus. So the saves will still be there, even if you don't renew your Plus.
Alright, so I guess this is where things
Why can't
properly
Nintendo do
starts
something?
new.
Why can't Nintendo do something like that?
Hopefully
They
will
were
in
discussing this with Deji and Shiroi yesterday. It seems to me that Nintendo is very ignorant about.
All right,
They
now
Anyway, yeah.
now we're about to get to the 6-month skip. There
Hey
we go.
Megatron.
So now we're about to actually get to where, you know, the first scene ended.
Yeah. Oh, and Knack got squashed.
He shrank. He shrank. Yeah, he totally died. No, he shrank.
Oh my god, villain stupidity at its finest.
You're
Oh,
too weak
well,
to
gee,
finish
would
off.
you look at that? I must be a wizard. He shrank.
And
All
now
right.
we're doing Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh my
Dun,
god.
dun, 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 dun,
I mean,
dun,
I
dun,
I don't
dun.
judge. I don't judge because one, Shadow of the Colossus is something that everyone should rip off at some point. I'm
okay.
perfectly okay,
Okay.
with doing it. And second, the Castlevania Lords of Shadow games also did this, and I was perfectly fine with that. So I'm perfectly fine with this as well.
Okay, I won't deny. This actually seems like a much more unique platforming challenge, you know?
Are there weak points we need to struck to get?
No. We're
Oh,
just
that's
fine.
sad.
Do we just
We're
need
just-
to get to the head, or like?
We're just gonna climb to the top and take it over and control it for ourselves.
Okay. I'll give the game
Oh,
this.
sweet.
This actually seems like a more unique and somewhat well-designed platforming
Even the
technique.
platforming seems to be more creative, very Mario Galaxy-esque.
What happened? Okay, where?
Plus the angles are pretty cool.
Okay.
You know, like just turns.
So where was this level of creativity for platforming before?
It all went into this. Like all of their brain power went into this.
Sweet.
Even kinda does some of the gestures that Malus does. I'm pretty sure this was intentional.
Wouldn't surprise me since. Was the Shadow of the Colossus remake announced at this time?
No. Well, actually, wait, no.
Yeah,
this is
it
when-
was.
This came
It
out in
reached-
September 2017. Yeah, it was.
Pre-2017 announced, but
maybe
that's the
they
thing also.
traded
Remember,
notes.
Jova, Shadow of the Colossus, just like Eco and Last Guardian, counts as a proper fully Sony IP. So,
It is
maybe-
it's a Sony IP.
So maybe they
so
traded
for all
notes.
intents and purposes, they can reference the shit out of it.
Oh, I have no problems with that. Like I said, this is actually an interesting and unique
I
platforming
mean,
challenge. It
the
actually
first
looks.
game also referenced Ape Escape with those nets that Victor robots had at some point.
Not only that,
Nick, your mission is to hunt all of the monkeys.
you know, okay, not only that, but the platforming challenges make sense in the context. Like,
There you go, Jova. Now we're Megatron.
cool.
Yes.
This actually seems
Something good happened.
This actually seems fun. Why does this feel so foreign to me?
And why wasn't this in a demo? We would have probably helped the marketing better.
I guess it's because this is kind
Oh
of near
no,
the
trust
end
me,
of the
Terry.
game.
You tried out the
Yeah,
demo.
that's what I mean, Pedro. The demo should have been this instead.
Yeah, the demo is literally just the chapter 3, the temple. You know, that temple where we're fighting.
That's a terrible
Monks.
way to showcase the game.
It's a terrible,
Okay.
terrible demo.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm actually gonna give a good bit of dialogue as to why this part of the game seems fun. Like, okay, the platforming section
There,
was
you can
nice.
even break parts of the scenery.
That's
Fuck you, publicity.
okay. First off, the platforming section. It's actually unique, and the level design seems nice, fun, and fair in a way that's legit challenging. Also, the challenges to the platforming make sense. Of course, of course there would be exhaust flames coming from the robot's back. You know, you tend to see that a lot, so it makes sense that there's a platforming challenge there. And the elevators also make sense because, you know, the mooks would have to get up there somehow too. You know, it makes sense, it's fun, and it's actually
Also,
creative.
the HUD for the robot control seems to be both in-game accurate and not too intrusive.
Yeah, and again, it's actually pretty cool, and you know the controls are nice.
This should have
they're
been, this
fun and
segment
simple.
alone should have been testing the PlayStation VR. By the way, this seems to be like something that it would have fit there.
So 1 minute I'm debating whether or not this game is worse than Knack 1, and yet now
That's
it's what
the
is
thing,
one of the
Jova.
last acts.
Again, I'm-
Well, I can tell you that this particular section is the most fun I've had playing these two games.
Keep in mind,
Yeah.
Jova, again, I'm still in the opinion that this is technically the better game between the two. Again, that's not saying much, but considering this game also has very deep
Oh, and now we
walls,
can do it in third person.
I will still consider this the better game of the two, and I honestly think Japan Studio in a couple of occasions like this at the very least fucking tried.
Yeah.
Other
It's nice
section,
that the
however,
section
they
is long
did
as
not.
it is.
I can see that.
And you know what, like I said, I'm going to wait until the very end until I get my final judgment. It's just, man, the last 2 parts of this game really have been a letdown, like more than imagined.
And there's still also the problem of the fact that I mean, for
This is very
example,
similar also.
this camera is not helping, for example, here.
This is also very similar to that section in the first game where Knack was at his biggest and was, rampaging for the mountain.
Which was one
Seems
of
like the
best
camera
parts
was
of the
just
game.
stuck during that last little bit.
No,
That's-
it's fixed, Shiroi,
That-
for a
that's
couple
because Shiroi, just like with the Werehog Shiroi, the camera is always fixed and you can never. The right analog stick is used for dodging, like in God of War.
Hold on,
As a
I could've-
result, you cannot change the camera at all.
I could have sworn that with the Werehog you could actually move the camera.
You can move the camera, Joe,
Not
but it's
in combat,
very, but it's very limited. Like, for example, to give you an idea, like let's say, picture the Werehog on the center of the screen right now. You move the right analog stick to the right. You can move the camera a bit around, but only just like a bit. Like you
A
can't.
state.
You don't actually.
What?
You don't actually have 360-degree control of the camera like you would in, say, Mario Odyssey. For example.
Oh,
let me-
1v1 me IRL, bro.
And literally at the Olympic Stadium.
All right, all right.
Giant microphone.
Jova, say it. Say the line.
This is fucking
You
Teleroboxer.
and
Boxer.
me,
Oh my god,
Megatron.
this
Go ahead.
really is.
Hold on, Joe. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Which line?
One shall stand, one shall fall.
Prime. One shall stand, one shall fall. Why throw away your life so recklessly? That's a question you should ask yourself, Megatron. No! I'll crush you with my own bare hands! You got the touch!
You know what's the sad part too?
Yes.
This one section has more robot action than the first 3 Transformers movies combined.
I mean,
Again though, like the way the interface was everything, it was almost identical to Teleroboxer. That oh my god, I
Alright.
forgot the name.
Let's go.
that was fun. I mean, legit.
Why didn't we
fun.
just have more of this?
Seriously, don't even bother with the story. Just have more of that cool
And also,
robot
this
platforming
makes
stuff.
Knack actually badass. You know, like he's supposed to be.
Yeah, he's actually using his smarts every now and then, and look at that, he even alters the correlation. It makes sense.
Was this part of the game just made by a different person?
Or maybe, just maybe, somewhere
Maybe this was
inside.
the part that devs worked the most.
Like seriously, this feels like what
Now
the...
he finally summons his relics back.
Oh, and he can do that from a distance, and you know what? It makes sense.
Well,
that
he
they
can.
do.
We already established from the first game that this is possible. so
Oh, I
this
know,
is-
I know. I'm not surprised, but again, that actually makes sense. Why couldn't the game have been equivalent to the quality
Alright,
here?
now we can go back to be bland.
You know what's amazing is that wasn't even the majority of this part.
The
The majority
final
of this
push.
part was literally us retrekking stuff we've already done.
So is the last part the finale?
No, we have 2 more parts before we finish this.
So,
Alright then.
so
Well,
basically,
actually, no, sorry. 3 more parts. Sorry.
So basically, guys, what was hiding behind the media rest scene was the best part of the game.
Do not care about what's behind the curtain. Do not mind the mind.
Like-
You know what? Fuck it, I'll cherish it while it lasts.
I mean, I'm just shell shocked. That was something
Well,
that
I can tell you
actually-
guys. Well, I can tell you guys that the final level is also kind of similar in terms of the platforming when it comes to this. So you can
Alright.
look forward to that, I guess.
All right, let's see how they do. Maybe.
In the
Oh
next
god.
part.
No, God,
See ya.
no. I'm actually imagining there could be potential for a sequel. No. They already had their chance. Don't make it, Jova. God,
See ya.
it really makes one think.
Jova, for saying that, now you have to say that Starscream line that everybody loves from the original cartoon. Go ahead.
You're either lying
No,
or
not that one.
stupid.
Oh,
I'm
well, no. There you go. Now you say that one.
I'm stupid!
There you go. Very good.
Or
See ya.
Starscream.
See ya, everybody.
So yeah.